Guys, this is pretty special. You need to see this. This is the Chris Craft Catalina. She is an absolute stunner of a boat. She's just totally gorgeous. So in this video, we're going to do a bit of a speed test. We're going to try her out in this flat water. Then we're going to go find some bumpy water and put this hull to the test. And this one's got the Mercury Twin 400, so the maximum horsepower that you can pair with this particular boat. You're watching Dan's Boat Life. My name's Dan Jones. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go have some fun. Okay, here we are in the flat water of beautiful Middle Harbour. I'm just going to go through some powerboat wash in 3, 2, 1. Choppity chop. Totally fine. And I'm just going to take the boat around the corner up here. I'm doing a cruising speed of 35 knots right now, sitting at 5,000 revs. So I'll back that off in a second to give you a more realistic representation. I was just having fun. And 4,800 revs, that's a little bit more sensible, giving me a cruising speed of 33 knots. And I've got 500 litres of fuel on board today. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hook it around this corner up here. I'll talk about fuel flow later in the video when we get into the more choppy water, because I just want to focus on what I'm doing here, because right now I'm going to go fast. All right, accelerating, 5,400 revs, 32 knots of climbing. I've got the Seakeeper trim on auto, so I don't know how or if this is going to affect my top speed. Going through some boat wash, choppity chop, now accelerating, max throttle, engine trim going up, 41 knots, 42 knots, 43 knots. My revs are at 6,200, 6,300. That's got to be max revs for these motors. 6,350. Oh, give us some more. Yeah, 6,350, 45.8 knots, 46 knots in flat water. We're still climbing. Okay, 46 knots. This thing hauls. That's absolutely beautiful with the Seakeeper in auto. So that's very, very interesting. Well, we might switch that off in a second and try it out with the Seakeeper stabilization. When I talk about Seakeeper, I'm talking about trim tabs, now controlled by Seakeeper. I'm just learning about this new system because I've not played with it before. And some of them, when you have them on auto, they still want to apply a little bit of trim to the boat, so that can affect your overall top speed. So let's head out to some exposed water, and we'll try the boat in some ways. We'll talk about the fuel flow, and we'll see what we learn. Okay guys, I am in some flatter water which is about to turn into bumpy water. I've got the fuel flow up and running now, and we're just going to talk to you about what it's like to run one of these boats through some exposed scenarios. So I've got some swell from both boats at the moment, a couple of 50 and 60 foot Rivieras and Princesses floating around today, and then we're going to be coming around the corner and getting exposed to the ocean. Just coming in at 29 knots, that's 4,350 revs, and I've got a fuel flow of 99 litres total at that speed. I've turned the Seakeeper trim tabs back on auto, and I'm just coming around the corner into waves at 30 knots, and I will just maintain that speed before we do any acceleration. Going downwind. The wind is from a northwesterly direction. Here we go, into a couple of swells, and just going to roll up and over those at 30 knots. Okay, lovely. So you will get a bit of bow raise going up and over the waves on a design of hull like this, and I'm just going to go straight into it so you can see. Because we are flaring out at the front of the boat to allow the beautiful, gorgeous, sexy lines that this thing has, but also that great lunch table. So to allow that design and that space means that you have to flare the bow out a little bit, which means going into waves like this, the boat's going to get a little bit of vertical acceleration up and through them. So just control your speed, just be aware of your situation, and don't come in at a ridiculous speed into an exposed area like this without knowing sort of what the sea state is before you do it. So now I'm going to change my angle to the waves, and I'm going to go side on. So just slowing down there a little bit, coming through at 27 knots. And we're heading to Watson's Bay. Okay, so now I've got the swell on my port bow, and so I'm just going over it diagonally, and you really do get some benefit from driving this boat through the waves. So feel free to just hook it from left to right, angle the boat, because she will talk to you. This is a hull that gives you a lot of feedback. It's like a classic car when the motor just gives you a lot of feedback. You get the same thing on a Chris Craft. So when you do have some of these swells coming through, maybe just angle the boat and give some of that 21 degrees of dead rise, nice exposure to the waves, and you will get this softest return out of that. Maintaining this speed at 29 knots, we'll just keep holding this as we go across this exposed water, and then when I get around the corner in the protection of the eastern suburbs, that's when I'm going to speed up again. So my fuel flow is still just hovering at that 100 litres total for the twin Mercury 400s, and I've got 62% of fuel on board. This boat is 4,760 kgs light ship. So you add the weight of the engines, and then you've got the weight of the fuel, which is 750 odd litres, plus we've got another 117 litres of water capacity. So you've got a bit of weight all up. A couple of waves here from a Pershing, and I'm just going to go through those at 28 knots. 3, 2, 1, that's good. This windscreen is really good, giving me wind protection and protection from any spray. I didn't have any spray just then because I slowed down, but I suspect if I went faster I probably would. Now we're starting to get into a little bit more protection, so I do want to give it another little flat. It's not flat like we had before, but we are downwind. Here we go, a little bit of engine trim up. 34 knots, 5,100 revs. Fuel flow at 160 litres, give a little trim up. Okay, 5,350 revs is giving me a steady 38 knots, and I gotta say, that feels great. You know, if you were in a rush, if you were rushing to get to your dinner booking or your lunch booking, this is how you do it. But we can do more. All clear around, all clear. One ferry on port, I'm just gonna give him a bit more room. Oh, let's do it, let's do it. This feels great. Okay, a little bit of harbour chop. The boat feels lively. Make sure you're bedded in and settled down with your foot stance. Okay, coming in at 44 knots, 45 knots, fuel flow 275 litres, a little bit of a trim up. This feels great. 275 consistent, wide open throttle, 6,450 revs. This is beautiful. I love it. 46, 47 knots. Oh, that's 47 and a half knots downwind run. That is just so much fun. This is the sort of happiness that Chris Craft will do for you guys. Oh man, just beat that. Awesome. Okay, now we're gonna go into some calmer water. We might just run into Watto Bay, and I'll practice this joystick for you because I suspect many of you are gonna get a lot of value from some technology like this. Let's do it. Oh, that was a lot of fun. But you're going to enjoy your ride from A to B, and then you're going to need to mix it up with other boats, marinas, shallow water, all sorts of things. So let's see how this boat maneuvers in close quarters. Obviously twin engine, joystick on this one, and we have the option to go for a bow thruster as well. I'm just going to see how the boat responds with engines only. We'll see what the turning circles is like. Okay, full trim down there. Your visibility from the helm is really good. Because of the design of this boat, even me standing up at the helm, I can see all extremities, so that's an advantage. I've got 2 engines forward there. Let's just do now 1 engine. So she'll turn with 2 engines on about 2 boat lengths. You take 1 engine out of gear, she tightens that turn up quite nicely. So that's all quite predictable. Let's center the motors and let's just do some transverse thrust. Okay, she boogies. Yeah, you can get this thing moving, no problems. And I think the extra weight you have, 4,700 kgs plus, is noticeable right now. She's quite predictable. She's quite predictable. And the other thing I like about this design of boat, because of this low gunnel, which gives us the beautiful looks, it's unmistakable on this boat, it also makes transiting, raft ups, tying up, accessing the dock, a lot more practical than some of these bigger boats you see me on where I can't even get a leg over the side. So that's just a bit practical if you're in a raft up situation or hopping off on the dock by yourself. We have the opening door on starboard as well, but overall, if you're doing that sort of boating, it's going to be quite easy. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I certainly did. So, Chris Craft Catalina 30, wrapping it up. If you are looking for a high speed, a lively, a boat that you need to control and you need to tame, which is going to give you so much pleasure and enjoyment both through her looks and the way she talks to you underway, then this Chris Craft Catalina is an absolutely ideal piece of kit for you. You can stick it out front of your house, you can buzz around the harbour. Don't get a G-Wagon and go to lunch. Get one of these and you'll feel so much better and you'll be unique and in a class of your own. So yeah, if that's you, do it. I recommend it. I'm going to pop a link up to something similar right now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, support the Patreon if you get value from these videos. My name's Dan Jones. You've been watching Dan's Boat Life. See you on the next one.